white parents whose worst fear is a child with dyed hair and who likes earrings. Like whatever they say has no bearing. It's so scary in a house that allows no swearing. To see him walking around with his headphones blaring, alone in his own zone, cold and he don't care. He's a problem child, and what bothers him all comes out when he talks about his dad walking out. Cause he hates him so bad that he blocks him out. If he ever saw him again, he'd probably knock him out. His thoughts are whacked, he's mad so he's talking back, talking black, brainwashed from rock and rap. He sags his pants, blue rags and a stocking cap. His stepfather hit him so he socked him back and broke his nose. His house is a broken home, there's no control, he just lets his emotions go.
I cannot say I know about his heroin because I don't want to ever feel like I'm dying. I like uppers. I like to feel like I'm alive, but I don't like an upper that keeps me lasting for long because I'm not miserable like how people get, when there's levels to shit. Meth, you know what I'm saying? Crystal meth and Molly are long lasting. You need that effect for long. People who do cocaine and are not, they do it and they're functioning, and those people, they can, I don't know. And I'm like really high as fuck right now, and I don't like that type of shit. So I don't mean to tell you my business, but I'm super high because I feel like people don't know what the fuck they're doing to people, and they sell shit that's fucked up, and that's not good. That's not cool. Like,
trying to build a prison. I can hear you now.
Got it. Yeah, sorry, I had these tabs open for other ones for Zoom, and it kept on like glitching over, but it's way better than using my phone right now. Getting back to the home office.
Yeah. So I actually have us live streaming on Facebook right now. But they don't really? Yeah, they don't know, they can't see you. They don't know who I'm talking to. They're just going to be privy to our conversation.
Gotcha.
And then I told them that that they can view it, the whole episode coming out soon. So how are you doing?
Like promoting it, kind of.
Yeah, gotcha. Because I think this is going to be an intense conversation today. So maybe
definitely
questions from the crowd or whatnot. But how are you doing?
Oh yes, love it. I'm doing great, man. After that talk yesterday, I felt like I think I got more out of that than I have doing like a commitment in a while. You know what I mean? Like that was more like in-depth digging because you pulled stuff out of me that I haven't, usually when you do a commitment and you speak on your story and stuff like that, you kind of don't get rifled off questions, here and there. But doing it like this, I find this very meaningful because you get stuff out of me that I don't think about sometimes. You know what I'm saying? So seeing another perspective and you breaking it down to make me think a little more about it, I really like that. So, this is going to be the wild topics now is like, our law, the law situation and how that's, affected me. So I think this second part is going to definitely be a wild one. I had a lot of crazy run-ins, and I'm ready to get it all out there and then just know to people that there is light on the other side.
Well, I appreciate everything that you said, and I'm curious as to why me? Why is it our conversation? What is it about me that is allowing you to revisit things that you normally don't?
Because I feel when I have a conversation with somebody that can relate and that understands and that has gone through it, I feel you are able to, I wouldn't say be more open because I'm open in general to people, but like that, this like interaction and just who you are as a person, because I already, I had an idea of who you were prior. For the most part, obviously not everything, of course, mm-hmm. But, I felt comfortable, you know what I'm saying? Like, I felt like I was able to really just no judgment, there was no, I think that's big right there too. I mean, to be honest, I'm at a stage in my life anyways that I don't care what anybody thinks, you know, and that takes a while though. That does not come overnight, and that does not, you have to
But it's not, I don't think it's so
really
much,
battle through that.
I don't think it's so much as caring, right? Because I don't care what anybody thinks either, but it's more along the lines of just having to explain over and over and over again because people just don't understand. And you just get tired of just having to, because you already know the questions that are going to come. You know what I mean? So I think that's where you're at as well, is you've explained this so many times and it's still like people still don't even get it and it's just, so it's the frustration in us.
Right.
And
that's
I
actually
think
a good way to look at it. Yeah.
And I think because you and I's interaction is like, we don't even have to explain anything. There's no explanation. You can really just say what it is that you want to say, and I'm gonna get it, and then I'm gonna feed it back to you. And we can really delve into some of these atrocities that's going on in our communities, you know, and for you, that's exciting for you because you're here. This is what you're here for. Like this. Yes. You know what I mean? This is the message I'm trying to get out, you know, and for me, it's like, yes, because I'm bringing this out of you, you know, and that's why that question was important to me, because I want to be able to do that with everybody, you know, everybody that has a message or whatnot. So continuing on, right, from yesterday. So help me with the recap. We learned that, you know, you grew up in I don't know if I would say like a semi-famous or infamous childhood, I guess, you know, a very popular one because of the Make-A-Wish and what was going on with your sister. And then we explained all the atrocities of each of those individuals' lives personally, you know, and I think we did a very good explanation as to how all of that gumbo mixed into one pot, which is you. You know what I mean? And now we're just getting into what that gumbo looks like, you know, and we've went down the road of addiction, you know, marijuana to cocaine to ecstasy, and then ultimately to Percocets, you know, and now you're just in survival mode. You know, it's survival mode. It's what can I get in the next minute? You know, damn tomorrow. Like it's what can I get now? You know, it's what can I get in the next 10 minutes? And it's 10 minutes after 10 minutes after 10 minutes. And that's how we're living, you know. And now the crime element is what we're getting ready to break down. So please continue with this wonderful story.
All right. So yeah, the last I think we left off was when I got I remember I got caught at that DQ parking lot because I definitely fell out, you know, from the insane amount of drugs I was putting into my body. So when that happened, and I had to start now going through the legal, you know, part of it, and me, you know, realizing that, you know, all my shit's out there now, right? Like, you know, even people that I kind of felt like I sheltered it away, you know, in my best, you know, thought, you know, of what they thought, you know, and I, you know, it was just one of those things that now it was like, damn, like now, you know, feeling embarrassed, you know, I feel like shit, like, you know, my, you know, friends that now I'm like, I'm an addict anyway, so I overthink everything. So I already have a feeling of what everybody's saying and what everything's going. So it brings that element of, you know, your mental health and like, you know, the severity it does to you when you're in these you know, circumstances. And like I said, you know, I thought I was going away, you know, even with my first charge, I thought I was doing some time because, you know, from the severity of my, you know, the crime in a sense, you know, the felonies, looking at about 5 felonies, first rip off of, you know, getting in trouble. And I was
break that down.
Like,
what happened that day? Tell me about that day.
So that was that day. Remember that me and my brother kind of, we weren't at odds, but we were talking kind of a little bit. Yeah. And that like he was able to let me get the rest of my stuff at the house, and you know, to move into that room at my buddy's house. And so when that day was like, I definitely definitely don't remember about 75% of it because of the amount of drugs that I was on. And, I even had my friend that was like, before I even left that second time to go, remember I was going to go, make a few plays, and I bring fucking all my shit for some reason. And I, I got into that situation where I fell asleep, and woke up with, the flashlight, like legit, like in my face, two cops over on the other side, one there. Yeah.
So what were the charges?
And, I was in my brother's truck, which is crazy. So the charges I had were, from the beginning was dangerous weapon. Those are brass knuckles. And then I had, what was it? I attempted to distribute class A, B, and C, I believe. I don't know if it was definitely, because I know I had like Xanax, Suboxone, all that other, junk. But I had like a good portion of it, but it didn't have any bottles. I wasn't on any. So like they would try to hit me with all that too. Right. And, I had all that cash, the phone, just they threw everything at me in a sense, and like I said, I was so bad. I could have got shot that night because I kept on dropping my hands. I guess like 3 times I dropped my hands, and it wasn't like me just not caring. It was how much I was out of it. You're
running on emotions and reactions.
Correct. And it was like, and I got like later on, like what a lot of people need. And you remember how I was trying to give you a little more insight with, Klonopins and Xanax and what that does. I call those like mini indictments. And,
yes.
They, were really ravaging my life because I would remember things later on. Like, so in that situation, right? Like later on, I would just think, and I those things just popped up. So it's like you forget them for a while, and then they start coming to your, coming out, and you're like, holy shit, like I did do that, like, or I was like that. And like, because like I said, when you do those things, you do not remember like what happened. You're a walking zombie. And you have no control over your impulses. Like people that can relate to those, and they'll give you like, yeah, this is like true. Like this is what happens. Like just literally waking up in a jail cell and having no clue why you're there, and you have all these charges, and you're like, oh my god, shit. So yeah, that's where things started getting really dangerous, and that with that combination, because remember I told you before. Once you get to that point, you want something better. So you'll mix in things to boost it, and you don't really care about the, what could it really happen to you, because it's like you can easily overdose, no problem doing that. And so what happened was so when I got caught up in all of that, I actually ended up, my grandparents were like, you're living over here because you're not staying over there anymore. So they said, you get your shit. And because I got bailed out, first person I call is my grandfather, because he's the hardest one to like talk to. Right. So I figured, hey, get him out of the way, and then everything else will be better. And then I had to deal with my brother, which he was not happy because he uses that truck for work. So they could have hit him with a commercial C's, what I'm saying?
Yeah, hell yeah, they could have
my life would have been legitimate. Truck. Right. But remember I was telling you before, he knew a lot of, people on the force. My buddy Pete, that is a cop in Marlboro, grew up with him. Like literally, I was even at his call. How far I went into it, I was like at his college partying with him. So that really was only like 3 or 4 years later this started happening, right? So like, he didn't know the extent of it, but he had an idea. So like, having him and friends that I know, like I had 3 of my buddies that I went to school with, so like that guy that caught me that night, like, to be honest, if it was anybody other than that guy, because he didn't know me, like I probably don't know where things would have led. Not saying that, like, obviously I deserved it, but like I probably would have had a little better shot, because just how it goes, people in the force, and it kind of helps you a lot, and so what ended up happening was I'm thinking I'm going away, right? So I'm preparing. It's like every time I have something hanging over my head, I seem to strive, like not even necessarily thinking about like that I'm gonna go away. It snaps me back to reality and says, listen, this is what you need to do. Like this isn't a joke anymore. This shit's like real life, and your life is starting to crumble before your feet.
Yeah, you get serious.
Yeah, because it's like now, like your worst fear is getting a felony. Like a felony destroys your life. I know we kind of touched a little bit on this, but this is like already like kind of going further down, but I like to break this down a little bit more because there's so much stuff I threw at you yesterday, and I give you credit for taking all that. Obviously you're doing this podcast, probably is giving you that little trick to be able to start analyzing things and taking in a lot of information. So
it's just listening to the person.
But I right, it's true, and something you're interested in, right? So it's easier to like say if you read a book, you'd rather read a book of something that you like than not, but yeah, so now I think I'm going to jail right now, even though like I have friends in the force that are gonna put my name in there of like, chill, like when you go to, trial, just make sure, or, take this wherever, just, he is a good kid. He just, this is his first time getting in trouble, right?
Now this is your first time getting in trouble. And what kind of attorney did you have?
I had a great attorney. It was my brother's old PO back in the day. His name was Scott Bisconi.
Okay.
His father actually, I think.
So he was a probation officer.
No, he was back in the day.
And then he transported over into law, criminal law.
Right. And the reason why, I got that attorney is because my brother, now it's a family element. Now it's somebody that is not in it just for the money. You know what I'm saying? Which, sorry, Scott, if you see this, I still owe you some money, but anyways, trying to make light of the situation.
Let's dissect Scott and see what Scott was about. So what was Scott's advice to you with your first? You don't have no felony convictions, so, and you got these charges. So what is it that you do? What is the advice?
So the advice is cut the shit, right? So I got scolded. Me and my brother went there for like a meeting, right, to see if he was going to take my case. And I actually had to sell my street bike to get, the money for that. And my brother was obviously helping me out. And it's like we had a dove into this, right? Scott wanted to know who I was because he knew Steve, and he knew Steve, turned his life around. So he wanted to get a reflection of what I kind of like this right now, right? Of what I went through. And is this a person I think I can help? Is this person going to actually listen and try to do the right thing? Right. So we had like an hour to 2 hour talk. And this is like fresh off so I went to work at Lowe's the next day, and I legit, I remember sitting and my brother stayed in the parking lot I didn't know this, but he thought that because of the bus, he didn't know anything that was going on. So he didn't know if I owed somebody, that was somebody's shit, or he didn't know. So my brother's been through it. So he knows if something, so he was protecting, you know what I mean?
Right.
So, and then we went straight from there to see Scott. So when Scott talked to me, he's like this little, how do I put him? He's like this little Italian, but not with the accent looking. I don't know. It's hard to put him in, but he's very stern. He's it's almost like it's not like your lawyer in a sense. It's somebody that's your uncle, but your uncle that like kind of yells. What's his
genetic makeup? What is he? What is he, Irish?
Yeah, I think he's Italian, and I think he's like a combination of Italian and Irish.
Okay.
He almost looks like a little leprechaun in a sense.
Okay.
But no joke, that
The
guy.
stereotypical. Yeah. Okay. All right. Got
Yeah,
it.
that guy though, when he walks into these walks into these courtrooms, everybody stops talking, and the DAs come up to him and talk to him. Hey, how's it going? Like he has so much influence and so much pull in these courts because of who he was, who his father was. His father was doing big name. I forget his father's name. I'm sure if you look him up, he'll pop up. But his father was like big time. He took on like federal cases and like crazy murder cases out in like Boston and Washington and all that. So everybody knew who he was. So it kind of like really helped. Well, it did. It helped me big time. And this guy though was very to the point. If I wasn't following along with everything he said, he would like. I almost felt stupid sometimes. You know what I mean? He's like, no,
he was guiding you.
Like, oh yeah, big time. And it's what I needed at that time. You know what I'm saying? Like I never really had that other than my brother. But like,
did you plea out or did you go to trial?
So what happened was, right? This is that crazy case I was telling you about. That since my case was so big at that time, and that those people that that girl that messed tampered with the evidence. Remember that lady that
yes.
She messed with all that shit, so they pulled everybody out of jail. So I was literally like pulled all the way back because of that. So it prolonged my case. So it was helping it, and it got to a point where Scott's like, listen, this has been going on for over a year. My client has not gotten in any trouble. He's been following everything. That he thought, but and I ended up getting a continue without a finding, but it had that open part where at a certain amount of time they can pull it back up, and you could still possibly get hit with these charges because they did have all that evidence on me, but you can't really get to it until until the time is right. So it was about 3 or 4 months. And I'm like, shit, like I thought I was good to go. I'm all like acting like it's not like a big deal. I just went through all that shit.
Right.
Because when you're in addiction and you're in like that mindset, I don't fear. I never really feared to begin with because of my lifestyle and who my, who I surrounded myself around and who my family was and like how we all were. So fear already wasn't a big thing for me anyways, but when you add that with addiction, it takes on a whole nother creature because now it's not only are you not fearful when you're not all fucked up, you're fearful, you're not fearful to an extreme where whatever happens. I'll deal with consequences when they happen. So
right, because the only thing that matters is that addiction.
Correct.
And you'll jump off a cliff if you think that the cure to your addiction is at the bottom of that cliff.
Correct. And that's just how it is. And it's not anything different. A lot of people have that, when they're in that full blown. But I feel like mine kind of was like, I don't know. I had a lot of mental health issues that I was dealing with, but I suppressed everything because like we talked earlier, like before, is that my family, we didn't talk about problems. We didn't talk about, all the shit we've been through. We didn't talk about all the, the hands we were dealt and like just how we had to, deal with whatever came our way. So like, if I guess was a logical person or whatever, I would have tried to take my mental health serious in that beginning, right? To try to shift all this stuff that was going to happen.
If you was a logical person, you wouldn't have mental health issues. Drugs. You know what I
mean?
Well,
no, that's not true because, if you think about it, mental health is mental health, right? So you can be born genetic. There's genetics in families that have mental
with
health
a chemical
issues.
Imbalance. I mean, yeah, what I mean. But but the mental health that I'm talking about is the mental health in the aspect of escape from realities. You're allowing yourself to delve into alter dimensions, alter realities without But as far as a natural chemical imbalance of that's
Yeah, you were deciphering the two different. I get what you're saying now. But yeah, it was just like, dealing with that, right, and not accepting what reality was really going on. So yeah, I just felt like at that point too, like I said, is I wasn't in a good place because like I said, all my really really good friends, were out in college and doing a thing, but I already made like my plan of like not getting into debt, not just going to college just to say you went to college, because that's just not the route to take. And then also remember with the carpentry thing, I thought that's something that I kind of had to do, but I didn't actually have that drive to do it. Right.
Right.
So having all that and those emotions, like it's just, that's a recipe for disaster. Like you're not in a good place. You're not mentally, physically, emotionally there, and I'm just at that point, I'm just existing. And that's just not the route to take. But I would try to keep things like around to keep me a little at ease, because I had sports that I played, right? So I still stayed active, right? But I also wasn't really taking care of myself fully.
Man, you broke that down so beautifully, because what you described is the elements of what creates options and thoughts. You know what I mean? And because it's our thoughts, our choices come from our environment and what's been placed in front of us with the tools, you know what I mean, in our mind to create these options. So if there's nothing there to create a positive option, because you're in survival mode, as you just articulated, you know what I mean? You're just only thinking about what has to be done in that moment. And your escape from that pressure is your sports, as you just said. There's never no time for planning, no reflection, no actual way out, because there's no time for it. There's no time for me to sit down and think about what I'm going to do next month or how do I get there. It's, listen, man, I owe bills, you know what I mean? And I need to get high, you know what I mean? And all that's in the thought process. So the way that you laid it out, and the reason why I explained it, is because I want people to understand, when you sit around and you say, well, why don't they just go get a job? Why don't they just change their life? You know what I mean? Why don't they just stop? If they don't like what they're doing, why don't they just stop? And for us, it's like, that is the goal for us, to stop. We just don't know the fuck how. I wish I could stop driving myself like this every damn day. Show me how. Don't tell me what to do. I know what I need to do. You know what I mean? But show me how, and that's what I want the community to really understand. So if you really want the things to stop, just stop sitting on your couch pointing your finger, but just truly get out and show people how to, because we all want to do better. We don't want these stresses, because this is a stressful ass life, man.
Yeah. It's like a 40-hour work on top of a 40-hour work week. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's like you're almost like two different people, right? You're trying to portray one guy and then you're doing another thing, right? So, when I knew that, my life was definitely unmanageable, I still, you would think that's kind of like, you would think that would kind of be enough for you to like kind of step back and realize like, oh shit, like this is not good. But I had such denial too. Like I used my age, because I was like only like 20, 21, almost turning 22, I believe, that year. And it's like, I still would be like, oh, I got things I still want to do, and I can't think of me not being able to do or use, without being able to do all these things, right? So I had definitely an escape plan as soon as like I got legal shit wrapped up. So I already had almost a plan, because that's my manipulation. That's me. And what they say in the program is like having a reservation, right? So, I already had, these thoughts as soon as, A, B, and C went together, I could do, D, E, F, so it's like you kind of set yourself up for a failure. And that's why they tell you to really dive deep into your step work, because that is the reason, right? Those are the underlining things that are not presented out and they're suffocated in because you just don't want to like accept it. So it's like stuffing everything down and not expecting it to just pop up at some point, you know. So you know, I realized at a point though that, you know, I started doing good. Like I said, I was working out, you know, you if you saw how big I was and just kind of like my size now for the most part, like I've gained some weight, you know, through the coronavirus and all that shit. I just ate like a maniac, but you know, I was a big guy. I got pretty big, and then I started really getting obsessed with that, and that's another whole monster that turns into, because you're replacing one obsession with another, right? So it's you trying to, it's definitely you trying to say like, hey, well, at least it's healthy, right? Well, is it, or is it not balanced? You're not, you know, I wasn't balanced at all. Like, you know, the girl I was dating and stuff like that, you know, it started being a problem because I was so focused on the gym, and I was doing 2-a-days, you know, morning and night, and then I was doing training people through the day. So it was like, that's all I did, and I ate like 6 times a day. Like I was literally invested to a point where it became, like we said, remember I said obsession. Yep. So once I get something, and you start, especially as a man, right, when you start seeing those gains, it's such a motivator, right? You know, and then you get like these positive compliments, and then, you know, one thing, and boom, another. See, this is why I like to tie a lot of, like, it doesn't necessarily have to be an addiction, like you said, of unhealthy, right? That's right. Healthy, but is it really healthy?
Well, anything of too much is not good. I mean, too much water is not good. So it's again, that is the key to life, man. That is the key to a harmonious life, is just control over self in all aspects of your life. You know what I mean? Everything is just in moderation of what we need and not what we want. You know,
that's so damn true. And you know, I definitely took shit for granted though. Like that's something I can really, you know, put in perspective with this time in my life, right? This timeline, because I had loving grandparents, right? I had a good support system for the most part. You know, people were starting to be like, okay, well, you know, he is a good kid. He did good in school, and you know, he didn't do any like hard drugs until later on, and things happened because, like, to be honest, you know, how, just to backtrack just a tad, was like I remember I was at Joy Asia, and like there's a lot of people there that night, and we still sometimes talk about it, right? I remember, you know, us walking out of Joy Asia hammered, but kind of knew what was going on, and this girl, like my buddy Ross, that big state champion wrestler I was telling you about, he was driving, and his wife was a teacher at the school I used to go to, and so she's a good friend of mine too, and he joked around, you know, like people like joke, he pretended to like bump me with the car, I joked like I was hurt, but he didn't even hit me. And this girl just comes up out of nowhere and starts kicking the car and freaking out. Like, and I kept on saying like, oh, relax. That's my buddy. Like, I was just a joke, like trying to like calm the situation down. And I remember, you know, Ross getting out of the car, and he's like, dude, what the hell are you doing? You know what I mean? And the girl just spits in his face, spits right in his face. And obviously he ain't going to hit her. You know, if he put his hand on her, she would have died. He was so big. And so all of a sudden her boyfriend came out, and like we were just saying, hey, listen, get your girl like out of here. Like she's really causing an issue right now, and it's not good. And your best option, to kind of put it like that, your best option is to leave. So like he would, every time he got her into the car, she just started running her mouth and getting back out. And I'm like, dude, like get her out. Like this is a problem. And so then he said the wrong,
obviously.
Right. Yeah. She's your Karen on, you know, steroids right there. And she, see, for me, when I can try to calm down a situation and somebody turns it disrespected my way, I have a hard time of not saying anything back. Like that's something I still work on today. Right. And so he goes, why? Well, what are you going to do about it? I was like, oh my God, here we go. I go, dude, I was like, not the best choice of words. I go, Just get her and get her out of here. I gave him like another chance. And then he said something again. I'm like, buddy, the next word that comes out of your mouth, like, you'll see what's going to happen. Right. And literally as he spoke, I just crow hopped and smashed this kid so hard in his face. And it's so crazy that like, I just had the damn guy didn't deserve to get friggin' smashed like that. Right. But that was my mindset.
Because
right?
like, who the hell is this guy telling me what I have to do?
Yeah. Right. And I'm with my friends and shit. Like, so that's another element. There's girls around, there's your ego, right? Your ego is not gonna get and it's something I work on a daily basis, to be honest. And and I end up I hit this kid so hard that I had a boxing fracture. So it's when you hit something and there's so much force, it just pops. It doesn't break on an angle, it's just like a pop. Like I hit him correctly, but I put so much force behind it, from pitching my whole life and throwing my hands and stuff like that. So like, this kid got it bad, and I knocked him out for when he fell. My buddy Russ was driving his truck, and we called the kid a sack of potatoes. Like when you throw a sack of potatoes and it just his body just he was like jello.
Dead on arrival.
Yeah, and my buddy had to stop the truck, almost ran him over because he was trying to see what was going on and he wasn't paying attention. And then boom, the kid got knocked out. But what was crazy is, so then his girlfriend comes at me and I don't put my hands and I'm just like, she's swinging, punching me in the face and it's not hurting me. So I'm just like, whatever. That kid somehow stumbles and gets up, and my buddy Ross, which is that big ass kid, he's pretty drunk, but
everybody's in on the action now.
Yeah. Now he's like, oh, that's my boy. Like he just, now shit's like chaotic. Fucking people are yelling. There's like 30 of us there. Like I had like, anytime I went with like friends, like during that time, it was like 20 plus people. Always.
That's how we did it. I mean, that's
just the mentality in the streets and just meeting good people and getting that connection, and
but that's the division that they do to us though. We learn that division at a young age and we're not even realizing it.
Right. I know. It's scary, right? To think about that now. That's what they did.
That's exactly what it is. We would sit up at the pool hall, man. There'd be hundreds of us, man. And depending on what high school you was from, like if you was from another county and you just wanted to come here and shoot pool, you know what I mean? Nah, like you would get wrecked. Your car would get wrecked. Your girl would get everything that came with you would just be trashed.
Yeah, it's like almost people don't understand that like when they come and live in these suburban areas and like everything's good, there's like maybe a one Karen in the neighborhood yelling at cars speeding. No, like where I was from, people got stabbed and fights every day. It was insane. So like,
well, that was the issue with our town. It was a retirement town that was expanding because Tampa was growing at an exponential rate. But so this quiet little retirement town was now getting flooded with, lower class suburbia, stretching out, trying to get cheaper land, but yet still going to Tampa and work and make the higher wages. Right. You know what I mean? So that's kind of what was happening. So you got a bunch of these kids, you know what I mean? Latino kids, black kids, punk white kids, just a bunch of kids running around in a town that's not set up or geared for anything kid-like. There's no malls, there's no movie theaters, there's nothing, you know? So what did we do, man? We just got on drugs and sold drugs and created gang war, not gang wars, but, just little cliques, little pockets of excitement, on a Friday night, we go
like
around.
People that will ride with you.
That's it. We would go do beer runs, man. We'd trash, cash, and carry. Go do beer. There'd be 8 of us, man. Let me tell you this story. So there's this story. I had a diesel.
Yeah.
Funniest shit ever, man. So I got this diesel iMark, right? And a Zuzu iMark, it was a diesel, and it was my turn to go to drive for the beer run. Okay. Mm-hmm. So bam. So we go to cash and carry, and there's 3 of us. There's 2 dudes in the back, and then my partner's in the front seat. So I'm sitting out at cash and carry. These dudes are just walking through cash. I'm walking because you know how the storefronts had all the glass. You know what I mean? So I'm just watching them meander through the store or whatnot. So then they all just grab this stuff, armfuls of stuff, and they're running through the store. So the cash and carry. Now remember, I'm in a diesel now. You know what I mean? So they're all running out of the store and they got all this stuff and the store's chasing them. All the people are chasing them. They're running across. I got to take off because I'm in a diesel. This shit just don't take off like that. This shit is like Fred Flintstone. It's like I got to push this shit. So I start to roll. They think that I'm leaving them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So they drop all this shit thinking that I'm leaving them.
Oh,
and you know what? It was a disaster. But
you're trying to have them run and jump in as like
right. I need a rolling start. Shit, y'all. That's about 600 pounds getting ready to jump in this car. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Plus,
yeah.
A diesel.
You thought it out prior, and they just didn't get where you were going with it.
They weren't. They were just running gun. I'm thinking shit out. That's how I always was. You know?
Yeah. Yeah.
But this is the type of shit that we were doing in that town, man. You know,
right.
Just crazy shit. And you couldn't tell us nothing.
Right. And you know what's kind of funny is like a lot of people here, like I try to keep our quote unquote war stories like to a minimum, but they are good to really, shed some light on the insanity behind our actions. But that was normal for us. And, for somebody to hear that and say, oh, damn, I was doing that crazy shit. Nope, you weren't. And like I said, it's like, Marlboro was a good area. Like for the most, Marlboro had its ways, right? Like it was, either good and, next couple of years, you could see the crime and like how things happen. But like when my friends, when we all got older, like to the 20s and the 21s, now it's like bar time, right? Now it's like you're with at all ages, right? For the most part. Cause like we do house parties all the time, man. When I tell you house parties, like out in Marlboro, this kid had this like, it was like a mansion, dude. And we would throw parties at every like 200 plus. And like cops would come every time. And we used to love it. Like we were like, oh my God, like this shit's funny because we weren't getting caught. No, I know every square inch of this area around here. And you either are going to have to be faster than me, which 9 times out of 10 wasn't going to happen. I was really fast. So it's like, I almost like took that as adrenaline rush. And I thought that was like, to cap the night off. Let's have a crazy ass story.
No, I know exactly what you're talking about because we had a spot like that too. See, I didn't really get into the club scene because by that time I was already selling drugs. And I was the type where I didn't want anybody to know me. I didn't want to be around that stuff because these dudes are just in there buying bottles in their own town. And again, this is a small town and they're in there buying $2,000 worth of champagne. You know what I mean? So I didn't want to be around that. But the dope spot is where I was at making money. And that spot, like you said, was like how they could not get into this spot. They would try everything that they could get because where this spot was at was down a long straight road, like 2 miles long. You could see on either way. And this was dead center of it. And then behind us was a pig farm that had all kinds of pigs back there. So it wasn't nothing coming through there without those pigs sounding off. You know what I mean? Right next to us was a school depot with a 20-foot high chain link fence. You know what I mean? And then the dope spot. So there was no way that they could ever get in there. And we would sit back there and we would watch the action of these clowns trying to figure out how to bust this dope hole, because anytime they try to raid, we would be gone.
Yeah, you knew what was coming before it is.
We'd have dope planted in the, like, how the palm trees down here. I don't know, because have you ever been?
No, I don't.
You know what a palm tree is?
Yes,
have you ever seen a palm tree?
Oh yeah. You had them like you would hide them. Oh, like because the tree bark, the way it kind of
right.
Oh, dude, I never. That's crazy.
We'd have dope all in those everywhere. You know what I mean? Just all over the place, in all kinds of different trees, and we would just haul ass. And so they could never do nothing. And what they'd end up doing was they would start pulling the crackheads over, the jugs over. They'd start pulling the addicts over and then trying to pressure them.
Flip them. Yeah, to flip them. Yeah, I get you.
Know what I mean?
That was like a tough thing.
They would come in there with big U-Haul trucks. Jump outs. They would come in like a big U-Haul truck.
Never had that shit, but yeah, that's wild.
It's crazy because it got so bad, homie. Listen. The dope spot, because we were making so much money, and what we do, it'd be like 8 of us. We sit there and we would just take turns. As a jug come, it was your turn. When you went and got, no matter what it was, you know what I mean?
Right.
That was your jug. Now it's mine now. So if you sold 20 and the next one came and I sold 200, oh well, that's just the way it went that night.
Yeah, that's how it went. Yeah.
You know what I mean? But it got to the point to where now I'm bringing 2-3 homeboys, you're bringing 2-3 homeboys, and we're bringing them from out of town. You know what I mean? So they're not really respecting the hustle there. They're just coming to get money. So what ended up happening now when Jug's coming up, into the spot, you got 10 motherfuckers running up at the car at the same time, fighting each other, trying to stick dope into the window. You know what I mean? And now what the Jugs are doing is when the Jugs sitting there, like imagine you now, right? Yeah. Tripping, addicted. And you got 5 motherfuckers standing around your car with their hands full of dope in your car. You know what I mean? Trying to show you who's got the biggest chunks or whatnot. What are you going to do?
Right.
What are you gonna do?
Yo, when people getting straight up robbed right there, or
what they would do is they would just the crackhead, the Jugs, they would hit the people's hands. They would just hit the hands and flip the dope into the car and take off in that bitch. You know what I mean?
Because for them that their everyday life is just to get one, right? So now no matter how hard, like what they did, they were gonna do it. So that could sacrifice them ever dealing with them again, but that's how their mindset was. Which
sure, you got crazy. This guy. He's only got $20, and he may have had to suck somebody off just to get that $20. And now you're sticking $200 worth of dope in his face. All he's thinking about is shit. How can I get all of this? He's gonna hit the hands.
Yeah, and it's kind of when you bringing this stuff up, right? This is I'll do one story before we start going into like the legal shit. So before I got caught, I think it had to be like a couple months, maybe like a month or two before, because I remember I got caught around November, so it was like a little colder, but this is when it was like nice, right? So this is when I was selling a lot. Remember, like I was pushing out of Lowe's, I was setting up all these setups. So like everybody that dealt with me I was always kind of working, so like we'd have to plan accordingly. And you know how it is, right when you're off work, your phone doesn't stop ringing, doesn't stop ringing, because people will call on the minute, or they'll even call before. I'd be like, dog, I just told you I'm getting out in 10 minutes. You get, those are the normal conversations, right? Shit, right? Yeah. No. And so, all right, this is me being too comfortable, right? Because when I was living with,
I'm just thinking, you telling a crackhead to wait 10 minutes is like driving a fucking knife through his heart.
Well, this was dope. I mean, this was
whatever it is, just the
the attic behind that is just as wild. Well, I guess crackheads are a little more, but it's, you know what I'm saying.
And I don't mean to label them like that. When I say crackhead, I mean just an addiction and all.
But you know what?
I try not to label them, no.
Well, the only reason I say that is it doesn't mean that person can't overcome. And even if he was a crackhead, that's not him. You know what I mean? You just say, I feel like for me and what I tell people is like, that's who you were in that moment, but that's not who defines you. That's not what defines you, dude. So like, I think if you get that message like that, but yes, it can be very degrading, so.
And I don't mean to be, and I'm sorry if anybody feels that way. I'm telling you just to the listeners. But
I just realized that too. I'm like, shit, we're alive. And hey, just so everybody knows that me and him, like we've been through it, and we've seen things like this. So like when we say it, it's not like something that like it's not a heartfelt thing, right? It's more like, we know how it is.
But at the end of the day, right, I always say, if you don't like it, if it hits you hard, change it.
Right.
You know what I mean? Change it.
Right.
And you can do that. You have the ability to, but there's no disrespect. But
no,
so carrying on.
So remember my boy was living out and I was technically on school zone at his house. The school that I went to in 4th grade, Hillja School, was like right there. I could throw a rock at the, where we lived at the school. So and what happened was getting too comfortable, right? And keep my guard down, right? And so I remember I came out of work, and my buddy, I don't even call him my buddy. He wasn't my buddy. And he wanted 30 of them. I was like, oh, word. Like I'm right near the end of my stuff, and then I can take that and then go right and re-up right after, right? So I already called my dealer prior. It was like, hey, this is what I'm doing, and then I'll meet up with you as soon as I meet up with him. All right, word. And then, like I said, being stupid and not reading the room like I'm very good at doing, but when you get too comfortable, you start those things, those lapse of judgments happen, right? So this kid comes and I come downstairs and right off the rip, like I already should have known something was weird was going on, right? You know, there was a kid in the back that I didn't know in a back seat, and then me right up front, red flag right away, right? And like I said, I see all these things after, of course, right? But so my
in the
thing
moment,
was,
yeah, you're in the moment,
right? And my always thing was I would meet up with them, jump in the car, right? We'd drive, like I wouldn't do it right there, but we'd go up to the stop sign, right? And it was like a 4-way, and then I would get out and just walk back, right? Like and that was kind of like my thing. Really still wasn't the best thing to do, but you know, I did some different stuff here and there. But anyways, and he wanted to see him, like, because you know how there was you probably heard people talking about how the pills are pressed like now, like you're getting fentanyl that's in shit now, or they're called, you know, the fake M's for perk 30s, where like you would have to really know if they were like, you would have to know the pill kind of to decipher it. And like obviously I got really good at it, but so like I let him, for that was dumb, I let him check him out real quick, right? So as I got up to the stop sign, I go, yeah, all right, I gotta grab that bread. And he goes, nah, and he lifts up his shirt and there's a gun sitting right there, and I'm like, fuck, right? So I'm like, okay, literally in this moment, and what's gonna be great is I'll have to have you talk to one of my that good friend I was telling you about, the one that does music, and he said this still was the craziest situation that ever happened to him in his entire life. And so I'm in there, right? And now the kid next to me, the one that was supposed to be like the guy I was dealing with, and that I didn't know the kid in the back, right? He's playing off like he don't know what's going on, right? So like he's like, dude, I don't know what's going, you know, shut up, like. And so he's like, I'm gonna get out of the back seat, and you better be out of the front before I get over. I'm gonna shoot you in the head. And this is, I swear to God on my life, like this story was so insane. I even wanted to write like a story on it. Well, here we go. Right now I know when people are about it if they're not, right. He wouldn't have even said that, right? Why would you need to get out of the back of that car to come to the front? Right. You tell me to get the fuck out, and that's it. You have me with my stuff, and you can eliminate me from getting out of there before you even need to get out of the car, right? So like, why are you even giving me a chance to do something shady real quick before you can get out? So right. I had like 2 seconds. I think I had like 3 seconds to really, everything slowed down. My adrenaline was through the roof. I've never had a gun pulled on me like that. And I was like, okay, his foot's on the brake, the keys in the ignition. I went, boom, ripped the keys out of the ignition, car stopped right there. I'm already out the front. I'm already out of the door before he even comes around, and I'm sprint and then I break off to the right. And now their car's stuck. I have the keys. This kid has a gun. A car already passed us and was like, what the fuck's going on? So I already know now, right? I only got about I got probably like 5 to 7 minutes to make all this happen, right? Because I got to factor in the cops too, right? So, you know, now the kid's scared because I dipped, and, you know, I already knew he would have shot me by now, right? So
yes, right.
He obviously isn't about it, right?
Right.
So now it's like, okay, now I'm feeling a little more comfortable because I know that this kid's not going to shoot me. And if worse comes to worse, I'm just going to light him up, you know? And so I call my buddy Anthony, the one that's my best friend and that lived at that house that I told you about that I, you know, moved into and all that. I call him because he already knows what I'm doing, right? He doesn't fully approve of it, but he you know, he knows, and he's like, whatever. And I call him like, dude, I just got a gun pulled on me. Get up here. And I hang up, right? And I'm like freaking out now because like, and he's freaking out, right? Coming up like, this kid's got a gun. And I'm just going to walk up there like, so he brings a bat with him, right? And he just got out of the gym. This kid's like, he was like lifting like 400. Like he's a big dude, right? Mm-hmm, and so he came up like charging, right? And for me, I'm just out of my mind. I go, fucking smash him with that. I was going to tell him to just walk up and just absolutely, he was a baseball player and everything. He would have took his head off, right? Mm-hmm. Now, the other driver is so nervous, right? Because now it's like this shit's really going to come piling on you, buddy. Like if something happens, you're the driver. This is your car. You came here. Like now all that shit's stopped.
Starting to sink in, yeah.
How like crazy, like I still get goosebumps thinking about this story because it was absolutely absurd how it happened. And so I'm yelling at Anthony like fucking smash him with it. And at least he has a sense in his head to not, because you know what? He would have killed the guy, right? And now I thought of a plan real quick because as that's all going on, another car comes passing. Now they're on the phone. So fuck, like 100% sure somebody's coming, right?
Mm-hmm,
and we're in the middle of this houses around us, right? And I go, all right, get the shit from him and we'll trade at the same, put the keys down, you give me my shit and just get the fuck out of here, right? So he agrees that. He goes over to the kid. The other kid's not really trying to do it, but he ain't got nothing. He don't even know where he is, this town. So it's not like he, you know, knows what to do or where to go. I'm so happy he didn't run off with it, you know? And so as that kid went to go, you know, throw the stuff down, I pretended as I was going to throw the keys down, but I just I kept the keys and grabbed the shit, threw my shit to Anthony, said, give me the bat. Yo, go run away and put the stuff somewhere. So now that I got the drugs back and I got them away from the scene. And now I'm like, okay, I got about 2 minutes right now before the cops come. Because I already was like trying to configure everything. This is how crazy my mind is. And when you put me in a corner me in a wall, I can come up with shit because everything slows down for me.
Right.
That shit's true. Like a lot of people don't realize that. Like that when people get in these life or death situations, everything slows down, right?
Sure.
And it's adrenaline. And so now the kid's like, fuck, I don't have my keys. He's got the bat. You know, that kid already, you know, he doesn't have the gun on him anymore. I guess he put it like in the car. So it's not like he's trying to threaten me. Now the kid's not knowing what to do, right? And I go, you walk. And I told him I want him to get lost. I want him gone. Like I want something to happen to him, right? And then I go, you get in the car and get the fuck out of here. And if I ever see you again, I'm going to kill you. And so he jumps in his car and drives to the left off. And now the guy goes, and something in my head, I almost did it. So as he was walking, I was going to run up behind him and just smash him in the back of the head. Mm-hmm. Just so he's down and then I can run back. As I was running up to go do it, something in my head told me, don't do it. The cops are going to be here in 2 seconds. Now you're going to have a body on your hands. So I sprinted back. And when I tell you the perfect timing, it was the perfect timing because as I was going into the house, right, and opening the door to run up to go in, a fucking cop with the lights comes speeding down, right? Mm-hmm. They don't see nobody. And Anthony's in the house like this. What the fuck just happened? I go, I don't know. I'm so sorry though. Like, you know, we were all both like, oh my God. Like, did you really just get that back like that when the kid had a gun and Anna had your shit and you were in a bad spot? I go, I mean, I'm not proud of it, but yeah, that happened. And what was crazy, right? When one of my buddies that I called that worked down the street, I called them, both of them, right? Just so everybody knew what was going on. So, dude, before I knew it, when I got back to the house, I had like 10 cars speeding up, like all my boys and shit were like literally missed this, you know, by like 5 to 10 minutes, right? So like they were thinking they were coming in hot, like shit was popping off when I came down because they heard gun and they heard the situation. And that was one of my dealers too, because I got fronted all my shit. So that would have been a hit out of my pocket and to him. So that's a liability on top of that, you know? So that's why I didn't just say fuck it and let him take him, because I knew that he had a possibility. Like it was coming out of my pocket. Right. And, you know, 30 of them, and you add that, you know, with the price, it's a nice little chunk of change, you know? Yeah, no question. But yeah, that was insane. I think that's one of my craziest stories. I mean, I had a bunch of other ones. I don't normally go into them, but that one was just like a crazy experience. And that's the thing is that like these type of stories in our lives were so minimal. You know what I mean? Like these were just daily occurrences, this type of stuff. You know, like me, I won't go into the really dark stuff. Right. You know what I mean? Things like that. But I'll give a general idea as to stuff like this, because
even stuff like that, people are like, oh my God, like these freaking people are nuts. Like, Jesus Christ. And for us, that's like, man, that's like every day. You know what I'm saying? Like this happens every day. Well, this is our lives. We get up and this is what we deal with every day. You know, so, but I want to go back to where, you know, with the gun, because shit changes, right? And people really don't understand that. Like we see in the movies, like in Blow, right? Where Johnny Depp, he goes down and he's making the drug deal. The dude comes in, puts a 45 in his mouth. We see that in a movie, but to have that experience and to be live in that moment, one really can't understand what that is, because everything shuts down. You know what I mean? When you have a gun pointed at you, everything shuts down. Your life completely stops, right? It just like it stops. And the only thing processing is, for me anyhow, is I'm looking this dude in his eyes and I'm trying to read where he's at. Can this dude do it? Is there fear in there? Is he, you know what I mean? Because my life depends on my next action.
This situation.
You know what I mean? My very next choice is life or death in that moment, you know, and everything changes from there. And the reaction from me in that moment, because you put that instant fear in me, is rage, like to the utmost extreme. Because if you put me in that position and I see that you aren't willing to take it there like that,
he fucked up.
You know what I mean? You really did. And people really don't understand that. People really don't understand that. Again, this is why I tried to explain like PTSD coming out of prison. You really don't understand what it's like having somebody twice your size that you know is chemically imbalanced, either schizophrenic or bipolar or whatever. And this dude has got shanks on him and he's completely flipping out and he's on top of you. You know what I mean? And it's like, you don't know what that is. That's pure hand-to-hand combat, life and death. Facts. You know what I mean? This isn't just two buddies getting drunk throwing blows with each other. No. This is where you either shit in your drawers and start cowering down and screaming, or like you get this dude up off of you.
Right.
And however, if you got to stick you stick your thumb in his eye.
Nuts. Yeah, you do whatever
the fuck. It just right. And there's once you pass that level, you dig what I'm saying? Once you've passed that line, knowing that you have the potential, it's an animal instinct. It's in all animals. Once that animal knows that it's a killer, you know what I mean? That it has the capacity to kill. Then that never turns off. You know what I mean? Right. And that's why when we come out, we're so humble and so passive, because that is an area we don't even want to fucking go down. You know what I mean? This is why I tell the people, like, when it comes to these convict channels and they want to talk about, oh, this violence and oh, this rape, these people weren't in that shit. Right. It was something that they were seeing from their cell, or they knew they had a buddy that was in that shit or whatever. These people weren't in that mix because it's not something that you're willing to really digest.
But the thing too is, like, you're so good how I am of reading. I can even read people on those things of like the way that they're talking about it, the way they're kind of like forcing it, right? And you're kind of like, you feel awkward for them because you know that they're not about it, but they're gonna claim to be about it because they got a following. But that don't mean anything. Like half of those people on the channel or whatever are the ones that are on, you know, listen to CNN news. Like, come on, like let's be real, you know. And like I said, I you know, that's
they'll preach about don't trust the government, and then they're getting the vaccine. You know, it's just
it doesn't make sense, right? So for me now, it's like I don't have any reason not to tell the truth, right? And I know people can say this and it cannot, you know, they think, oh, he's still like not telling the truth or whatever. But like for me, I feel that I have to get this shit out there because, you know, there's a lot of people that have gone through what we've gone through, and they still haven't processed that whole scene behind the fight or flight. And it's a real thing. And it's a real, you know, it gives you like nightmares, you know, it gives you PTSD. And like, I literally have, and this is before I even think of all the shit that I had to deal with prior. This was like a thing that really mentally fucked me up. You know, I always thought like, damn, I could have just lost my life over drugs. My mom or, my, nieces and nephews might not have never saw me again, right? What would have that done to my family? What would that have? It's a collateral effect, right? So, that's why you just said why we get humble when we start doing the right thing is because if we don't get this off our chest and we don't speak about it, it just harbors and sits there and just festers and it gets worse and worse and worse. And when you don't treat it, having a counselor or, everybody was like, oh, if you're a man, you shouldn't have a therapist. Fuck you. Like, absolutely not. I'm not here to like, live up to your expectations. I'm here because I know that if I don't do this, this shit's life or death for me. I could be one bad decision away from going right back to where I was. And that scares the shit out of me enough to be like, dude, get your shit together, right? And start making some change. And it's like, I already see.
And that's the scary thing because
see that now.
Yeah, that's the terrifying thing, homie, is because like, I don't care. At the end of the day, like, I don't care. I've been there. You can't do anything to me that I haven't experienced already. Right. You know what I mean? My care, my care lies in humanity. Like, I want to be a positive, loving person.
Yeah.
Stop fucking with me. You know what
I mean? We would like to be that people always. Like, it didn't mean all that like time. because we went through these things that we weren't trying to be that better person. Because like you said, who wakes up one day and says, oh, I'm going to do heroin. Like,
or I just want to go out and be a dick today. You know what I mean? Like, nobody does that.
No.
No,
so and people just are very small-minded. And I'm not rashing on people that don't get it, but like, you're not going to tell me something that I don't know through this situation. But I will be humble enough to sit back and say, okay, I see how you see it, but I don't agree. Why can't we have those conversations anymore? Why is everything so, if you're not with my agreement, then you're against me. Like, where did we start going down that hill? And you see it happening now. It's like, if you don't believe with what my narrative is, then you're my enemy. It's
because the thing that drives me crazy, man, that shit is about to give me a damn stroke for real.
Right.
Is that you would rather sit here and listen to some uppity asshole who has a title from Harvard or Yale about what's going on in the criminal justice system than somebody that has been incarcerated and has come through the system because of your misunderstanding. You know what I mean? Yep. Like, you would rather listen to this person because they put on a tie than listen to the person that has been on the front lines and been through it, because you think I'm going to lie and I'm going to over exaggerate and I'm going to just say, oh, how prison is so tough. But the Harvard people, they're going to keep it real and tell you how it really is.
Right.
The shit is absurd to me, man.
It is. And it needs to be exposed. And, I'm not the one to really try to stir shit up in that sense anymore, because I am doing some positive things. But guess what? I'm at a point in my life, right, that I'm not worried about that now. Like, I would try to kind of tiptoe because like I still didn't have a full understanding. But now that I have that, and I see the shit that gets said, and I see the shit that's happening in our criminal justice, like I'm not standing by anymore. I'm gonna press anybody, whether they're upset that I pressed them. I don't care, dude. I really don't, because this has been going on for too long. Like, look at how long and all the bullshit you had to deal with, and you couldn't have a voice because they wouldn't let you have a voice. So now that you do and you got a platform, dude, say whatever the fuck is on your mind. And
amen. And this is why Coming Home Coalition don't take no federal money. This is why Coming Home Coalition don't take no federal grants. I don't want these people's money, because that allows me to say and do what I want to do. See, again, right. Like I say, with these channels, if you're not being censored, you're part of the agenda. You know what I mean? You have to sit here and ask yourself, how are you pushing rape and murder about prisoners, and you got 25, 50, 100,000 subscribers? Here I'm educating them, and I'm showing you positives about it and how these people are coming out and changing communities. And I have 2,500 subscribers. You know what I mean? And they took my monetization away. They won't even monetize me. So again, you have to sit back and say, hold up, man. Like, there's something big. Am I feeding this agenda? You know what I mean? Am I helping this? Because I'm calling myself a convict. but yet I'm doing more harm than what I'm doing good. You know, so it's understanding that it's bigger than us, man. I would love to sit down and just rake in money from YouTube, you know, to push an agenda, but that's not me, because I know there are people that are suffering. And the thing, let me tell you what pisses me off. Let me tell you what grinds my gears. You know what really grinds my gears is the fact that I've been used as an agenda. You know, as my childhood, you know, I always thought that I was rebellious, and I always thought I was lashing out and fuck the government, fuck the police. But the whole time that I'm chanting that, I'm an agenda for them. I'm doing exactly what they wanted me to do, because now I'm giving them the opportunity to point their finger at me and say that I'm the problem and that I'm the reason why they have to create these laws. You see what I'm saying? And I allowed that to happen. And because of that, I'm freaking upset. Right. Because I feel like I got played.
And you know what? And I agree with what you couldn't have said it any better. And what's messed up is, even you can ask Cynthia, right? Cynthia dies because we'll be in like even the last event you let me sit in on, and it was with it was a senator. Do you remember that girl's name? She's bald, and she was kind of like part of the squad with like AOC and all those, you know, other squad members, quote unquote.
Is that the one that Roseanne Barr said looked like the chick from Planet of the Apes?
Oh, I don't know about that, but I maybe. But Cynthia just had an event where, like, because you know, her being, you know, the president.
I can't remember her name.
But I'll have to show you a picture of her. But anyways, okay. So I go into this thing, and I'm loving their message, right? And I'm loving what they're saying. But and this is my view on it, right? Because, like I said, I'm going to be going in real soon to have a say about the new reform that's coming out that they're trying to push, right? And so I'm going to have a voice for what's going on, right? So, you know, a lot of people don't realize that, like, I'm going into that, right? But I'm going to say what I'm going to say. And I'm also going to, you know, put shit in perspective for people, and I'm not going to sugarcoat it. You know, I'm going to say it how it is. And whether you think that I shouldn't be saying it, well, that's too bad. And like I was saying, I was texting Cynthia the whole time, and she was dying. You know, these people, right? They want a better criminal justice form, and it's like they're throwing us. They think, oh, they'll like this, right? Let's just say, you know, no bail, right? Or, you know, here we go. You know, oh, they're going to love that, right? They're going to vote for me because I'm doing that shit. It's an agenda, right? They don't give a fuck about us, right? It's their way to boost themselves up and think that they're giving us something so we can rely on it. I'm not playing that game with them. I agree with some of the stuff they were saying, right? But I'm also going to say a guy that just shot somebody, a possible, you know, attempted murder, and he don't need to have bail, like what? Like, where are we at when we're getting that stuff happening where people are convicted, or, you know, these are people that are not good, right? Because we have addicts and we have people that are trying to do good, and they do commit some crimes, but they're not like that. And there needs to be a decipher with those crimes and addiction crimes, right? Addiction is not something that we wanted to do, you know, or selling drugs. It was our lifestyle. That's what we were brought into, right? Which is mainly a lot to do with the federal government. And the thing with me is, I am not going to sit there and see the crumbling of the criminal justice board just because they want to have a vote. And that looks like they're giving us something, like, oh, look, we're not giving you bail. Like, isn't that great? No, it ain't great. There are people that need to have that. So let's take the crimes with addiction and drugs over here, and let's decipher actual crimes and shooting people. That's something that's black and white. We can see the difference.
That's why these people don't want me in these rooms. You know what I mean?
Well, they're going to get a rude awakening with me.
No, for real, because I'm like I said, man, I don't care who I'm on the stage with. I'm going to let them know, listen, man, listen, these are American citizens, right? And this is an attack on our country. And if you're not willing to talk about that, then I'm sorry, but I'm looking.
Then what are we talking about?
I'm looking at you as a terrorist. The thing of it is that I'm tired of talking about reform. I'm tired of talking about things on the back end. Unless you're willing to sit down and talk about term limits for these representatives, unless you're sitting there, you know, if a prosecutor brings a charge against me and ruins my life, I got to spend tens of thousands of dollars to defend myself, the embarrassment, the shame that I got to go through all on these false accusations because I got a stalker or whatever. You know what I mean? And some overzealous prosecutor who's just looking for a conviction, right? I should be able to turn around and sue that prosecutor. Right? There's no question because you slandered me, you attacked me, you falsely accused me, and it was all erroneous, and you should have persecution to that. You know what I mean? Because that's going to help not only restore my life, but that's also going to make you think twice
before you make these
decisions, before you start overcharging. There's no
accountability on their end.
Accountability. This prosecutor can come in here and throw 20 freaking charges on me just to get me to plea out the 3 of them. There's no accountability.
Corrupt. And that's why they don't want us on that platform. That's why they don't want us, because me and you were just talking like it, but now I can already see how much alike I am with you. Like, I already knew that we had a lot in common, but I get fired up about this. Like, ask Cynthia. I get fired up when I see bullshit and I see these fake ass smiles where they're letting out somebody that caught a body, but they change, right? But then you take the guy that sold drugs or did something and you double their sentence compared to somebody like that. Like, where are we in a society where that's acceptable? It's not, because you know what it is? It's showing that you don't have to have consequences for your actions, right? And that shows that's going to entice people. That's going to make them want to do it. Oh, I'll be out on no bail. Like get the fuck out of here. Like that's causing more harm than good. But I think there needs to be change in the legal system. Hell yeah. There's so much shit that these prosecutors need to go, and we need to make, like, literally, it needs to be an American citizen voting on these people.
Well, that's powers. The issue.
It's so messed up.
The issue, homie, is that, again, this is a prison industry, and I'm trying to get people to understand that all a politician is Jeff Bezos. Let's look at Jeff Bezos, right? Let's look at Jeff Bezos. Yep. I'm going to go to Jeff Bezos by myself and stand in front of him and say, hey, Mr. Bezos, I really don't like your business model. You know, I think it's a detriment to our communities. We're slaving people, you know, and whatnot. And I really don't like the business model. And I would like you to change it. What is Bezos going to do? He's going to look at me, right? He's going to smile. He's going to put on his PC face because he is a business. He's in marketing. He understands. He understands how much he needs me to go and tell people how great Amazon is. So he's going to look at me. He's going to smile and he's going to say, I really appreciate your concern. And we're going to take your considerations, you know, as an option. But in his mind, he's like, man, who the fuck are you? Bitch, I'm the richest man on the planet. What are you? You ain't got, you know, that's what's going on in his mind. And that's what politicians do. But now if I show up with 5 million Amazon users, and we're all saying that, his tune is going to be completely different.
A lot different. And if you take away his money and his clout and all that stuff, he's a little bitch. Like, slap the dog.
This is why I'm trying
to. I hate that, man.
This is why I'm trying to reach the people.
They're not. Right.
This is why I'm trying to reach the people, because I know the power that we have. And if I can have enough voters in my pocket behind me, right, to where I can go to these representatives and say, listen, we're not talking about nothing until we're talking about putting terms on these seats and prosecutorial misconduct, because this prison industry that you guys have been running is in our public school system. You guys, because
I can't even, that gets me sick to my stomach.
The thing of it is that people have to understand how big this is. It's hard for people to grasp. We have 2.4 million people in prison in the land of the free. Do you know the money?
Everywhere.
Do you know the money that it takes to run those facilities?
Oh yeah,
house those people, and who's paying for that? The middle class, the taxpayer. But where does the money go that's being generated from these prisons? Where's all of that money go?
Prosecutors, they're all lining their pockets.
Where does all of that money, because that money is not distributed back in, it's not going into the education, it's not going into rehabilitation, it's not going into coming home programs. All of these things are bone bare. Where are these billions and billions and billions of dollars going? This
and
is
you know what?
Industry.
When I go to that, and if you, I'll send you the link on Facebook about that, because you can sit in and watch that thing that I'm doing. Like they have,
send me the link, man.
Yeah, and there's gonna be judges in there. There's gonna be prosecutors. There's gonna be like your teeth are gonna be gritting in there, right? Because here's the thing. I got you. But for us, I like that we kind of went into this subject, of coming from that scenery we were just talking about with my life, because I know we have so much to talk about, man. Like I already could tell that you're on the same page as me and I'm on the same page as you. And there's just so much insight that we have from going through stuff. Like, honestly, you have probably way more than I do. And this stuff I can learn off of you, or I might have a few things that you might not have known. And that's what I love, right? I'm willing to hear and understand. These prosecutors and these people in higher positions don't give a shit what you have to say. They're a yes man. That's all they are. And look at what's happening now, right? This is a prime example on why things are going to start really getting tricky. And you actually, I'm going to quote a video I watched you do, is when you guys sat back and Joe Rogan said, what do you think's going to happen if you start messing with these veterans, right? Or you start messing with these proud Americans, right wing, that are for family, and and you start thinking that you're going to start a war with us, and you don't think the uprising that would happen if you thought BLM and all that stuff was terrifying. That's nothing. That's like if you take all the proud veterans and people and you think you're going to come here or you're going to uproot America.
That's what he was talking about. He was talking about the veterans. He was talking about the violence of the veterans, these soldiers who know hand-to-hand combat and who have been on that front line, the ones that we were talking about. But
I love that
specifically
video, by the way.
Talking about the veterans. And again, my point is, we are the sleeping giant.
Yeah,
you
wake them up, and
because
hell's gonna break
what
loose.
People don't understand, what these American citizens don't understand, is we love our fucking country. Like we've that's the essence of who we are. Is we've been fighting for our freedom. We understand how precious freedom is. So you may call us criminals and look at us and kick us and spit on us, but at the end of the day, we're gonna be the ones out there in the streets chopping shit up, right? While you're locked off in your house. Right. And you're gonna be like, damn, look at that guy go, man. That dude looks like Bruce Lee in The Coming. You know what I mean? Because this is what we do.
And this is why, like, people gotta understand,
and
right?
There's 10 million of us.
Facts. If
not sleeping giant.
But it's not even just that. You take those people that love veterans like I do, and I have family members and friends that have served, you don't think those people that are attached to them are gonna uprise with them too? Hell yeah. So now you're gonna double.
And how many veterans are convicts? How many veterans feel like their country betrayed them?
Man, it's disgusts me, and you want to know why I brought this up is because I when I saw that video, I saw that, like, man, you guys don't even know, like, you're playing with fire that is going to burn you, right? And you're going to beg for that shit to.
At the end of the day, man, we're Americans, and that's what I'm trying to get people to understand and wake up, man. That we've been pacified to these distractions and comforted in our lazy boys and our big screens and our jet skis and our weekend beer barbecues. They wanted that shit. Of course, we gotten fat, but at the end of the day, those American nuts are still there.
They are.
And when it comes to talking about taking that stuff from us,
ain't gonna happen.
No.
Ain't gonna happen.
And this is what I'm trying to avoid by just getting people to understand it. It has to start now through stop selling drugs in our communities. Again, I have so many propositions. Like we need community organizations in every community so we don't have to call the police. Right. We call these community organizations and they gather up, 500, 1,000 citizens from the area to come down on this crack house. run these people out, figure out what's going on in this crack house. Do y'all need jobs? Great. We're going to get you jobs tomorrow. Report here tomorrow. You know what I mean?
Housing.
Just whatever the community is supposed to. That is how this country was designed. We were supposed to, this is our land. We take care of this shit. But we just want to sit on the couch and eat popcorn, watch football, and call the police. You come clean this shit up.
Nope. Start taking it in our own hands. That's where we're at. And you know what's crazy is like, this is why I'm going and speaking about that, about the Section 35, because first off, those people that go into sections, they're not getting help. It's not working, and it's making people worse. Like when they come in, they're worse before they came in. And I've been there, and I've been in it, and I've seen it firsthand. That's why it's little things like this that are going to start making a bigger, wave once this goes through, because it's going to make them not be able to do that anymore. They're not going to be able to just section people because they feel, this person is not good and they're never going to get better. Let's just throw them in here, and they can keep doing it and doing it and doing it. Mm-hmm. That's enough. I'm done with that shit. It's not working. You put up the numbers, it's not working. So what I'm doing is to make sure that people know that, women, it was a great step by not having women get sectioned now, and they get treatment. Only men. We're the only ones. I mean, we take the brunt of everything, but I'm not going to sit here and play. We're not going to, and you're like me, we're not going to play victim, but we're done. We're done. And I'm done with it. And this is how I'm going to approach this, by the way. These people got to hear this, and it's all going to be judges. It's going to be all prosecutors, people from the Senate. I can't wait to send you that link, because you're going to see the people that are going to be on there, right? And I'm just going to look them all and be like, listen, like, this has been going on for too long, and I'm sick of this money grab. That's all it is, because you get sectioned for 30 days. Now they turned it. They can make somebody there for 120 days now instead of 90. What? Because your counselor is upset with you, or you're just not feeling a group at that moment because, maybe your father or mother died, or your wife just sectioned you. Now you don't know where your relationship's going, and everything's falling apart. You think that person should just sit down and shut up and listen and accept, your philosophy, and you're not even an addict, and you're going to tell me, shut up. Right. Like, I'm done. I'm done with that stuff. It didn't help me. It made me worse coming out of there. And if I can shift the perspective on it and say, this is what's really going on, it's not, it might sound good on paper. Oh, we're saving them from themselves. No, you're not, because at the end of the day, you're never going to make me get clean if you force people to get clean when they're not ready. And I get the process. I'm not trying to get rid of sections all at once, because there are people that really do need the help. But let's put them in facilities that actually work. Let's put them into, some nice, it shouldn't be a punishment for being an addict.
Right.
Why is that even like? Why am I getting
up in Michigan? Public housing. You can't even get public housing if you're a convicted felon. That don't even make sense. Because
then you can't help that person get.
Who needs public housing more than a returning citizen? When it's just
that. Like, why can't? I mean, we say, oh, why can't they see this? They're choosing not to see this.
Of course,
they're choosing to oppress
and that, my friend, is why I won't waste my time with them. You know what I mean? Why I won't waste my time with them, because at the end of the day, I don't care what your title says, and I don't care what you've made yourself to believe that you think that you know. But at the end of the day, you're a freaking human being, and all you know are your experiences. And I'm a freaking human being, and all I know is my experiences.
Right.
And what you're telling me doesn't line up to my experiences. And when I delve into that, you haven't even been through my experiences. So why in the fuck am I going to listen to you because you got a suit and a tie and a little American flag pin?
Yeah.
Get the hell out of here. Get out of my face.
That's what I'm saying. But you know what? We do give them a chance, because we're not shitting on them, right?
Well, at the end of the day,
perspective.
At the end of the day, the point is this: you are a representative, right? And I respect the fact that the American people, as far as we know, have put you in place by their vote. You know what I mean? By their choice. Facts. So I respect that fact. Yeah. But your body of work, your body of work speaks more than what you're saying. And if your body of work does not line up, like Joe Biden, what? Criminal justice reform, bitch! You wrote the most heinous criminal bill in history.
Do these people not realize there's receipts everywhere? Like, do you think that we don't go and look and see these things and that you're an absolute fool?
So my point is, if your body of work is
giving crack pipes,
and the things that you've said, the racism that you've said outspokenly. So the thing of it is
Kamala
that
Harris said it.
Yeah,
like,
please,
these people, these words have no meaning anymore. These words, I just laugh whenever I see him. I just go, "Wow, you have dementia, man. You are a liability at this point." And anybody that backs and says, "Oh, what this kid's saying is a right wing," no, it's not. It's called seeing for things for what they are.
Yeah,
and you know what? I just don't sugarcoat shit. Yeah. I'll tell you how it is, whether you like it or not.
I could care less. Listen, I could care less whether people say I'm none of that. I'm nothing. Don't associate me to government at all. I'm not none of these parties. Don't put me in a box because you want me to agree with your thinking or disagree with my thinking. Don't put me in no box. This man is a human being, and he's supposed to be an American citizen, right? And he's supposed to uphold that. He's the highest position to uphold the Constitution. And when your body of work is showing me that you're anti-Constitution, I don't care what this title says. And you could send your goon squad down here to take me out, and then I'm gone, and it doesn't matter. But at the end of the day, God is going to have the final answer. I don't fear that stuff no more.
Right.
You know what I fear is lies, and I fear deceit because of what that's going to do to humanity, but not my life.
Right.
You know what I mean?
You know who I really care is these my nieces, my nephews, the ones that are going to have to really deal with this bullshit from these cowards and what they're doing to the country, and it's all for the money. Look at what's happening now. All these receipts on Hunter Biden's. He's an idiot, by the way, because he's not even a good criminal. He's an idiot. And this is all getting exposed. And the reason why we don't have Trump or anything in the office anymore, because they just didn't like him. How was our country a year ago?
Well, these are the things, right? You know, and then they want to say, well, that Trump rode in off Obama's. There's always excuses and justifications.
Oh yeah. I'm not saying like everything he did was perfect. All I'm saying is people used emotion over this.
But what people won't. Like I say, when I just ask questions, because I don't support none of them. I know I know it's all just a shell game. A
puppet. Yeah.
It's just all.
It's always the higher. There's somebody higher than all of them. They're not. Of course,
there's no question. I mean, we're working on a European scale. Again, that's a whole different conversation. But the thing of it is that what we don't question as people, what we're so blind to is the fact that Hillary Clinton. Right. And this is documented. The man Trump declassified Obamagate. It's declassified. You can Google it and research it. And read it for yourself. I've
watched all that. Yeah.
The whole
Russia
impeachment thing.
Yeah.
Was a complete fraud.
They were paid by Clintons.
It was the whole process was a fraud that the taxpayer had to pay for to go through this process. And not only that, but it had our American president under attack and unable to defend our country at that time successfully. Right. And we don't say anything about that. Was treason to the fullest extent.
Because they didn't like him. That's the
only reason. So we can commit treason against our American president, whether you like him or not. Right. And it's okay.
Right.
But you have a couple crazy emotional Americans that feel that they have the right, which they do, to if they feel that their government is out of control, they have the right to
have the right to say something. Yeah.
But you want to label them as insurrectionists and terrorists and all of this stuff. Because Hillary Clinton is taking our president through a false impeachment trial for a year, the first year of his presidency.
He had to deal with that the whole time, and we wanted to
then come off that and go right into COVID,
Benghazi, and all that shit, man. Let's really talk about how great those Clintons are. How many bodies are behind them? We're gonna get back.
There's so many different conversations, but
this is why all
of this is the crux.
Yeah,
all of this is the crux of the system, and this is what I'm trying to get the people to understand. When I say that this is an industry. Their pool that they pull from is our public school system and our poor communities. And I get tired of people saying, oh, well, I came through that. I came from the ghetto and I made it and I made millions and I got businesses. Cool. But That's not the percentage. They work off the percentage. They know that there's a high percentage of children coming out of the public school system that's going to go into the prison system. And they know that a large percentage of the people coming out of the poor communities is going to, because they've applied that. This whole thing has been applied. They put the oppression on the poor. They eliminate the middle class. I'm going to break this shit down, and you can go to these people. They eliminate the middle class by taxing them to death. And taking all their hard earnings. So now they're working 60 to 80 hours a week just to make ends meet. The middle class is what supported the poor class. So now there's no support for the poor class, but the oppression is still there on us. And yet all the mechanisms, all the mechanisms of triggering, right? All the mechanisms of crime is now placed in the poor communities, right? Because you know that pressure bust pipes. We know this. This shit is chess. You know what I mean? They're gonna have to release.
It's all set
somewhere.
in motion, man.
So here's a titty bar for you to go release in, and in that titty bar is some alcohol, so you can get all geared up, get drunk, and guess what? There's a gun store right next door, so you can go buy you a gun and go rape you a chick. You know, whatever. They're putting those elements there for the person. Casinos, it's all in the pool. You go to, they got $6 billion buildings in the middle of the hood, a big ass casino, right? You know what I mean? Right in the middle of the hood. You know, you're getting robbed when you leave the casino. Right? That's what's crazy.
MGM in Springfield, that's literally in the hood, and people are getting robbed. Yeah,
this
crazy,
is what
man.
I'm saying.
Yeah,
so all of these are put in place on purpose. This shit is not on accident.
No,
they don't just say, "Oh shit, well we just made it that way." I guess I don't. This shit is designed that way. It's designed to feed the prison industry, man. And this is what I'm trying. I'm so passionate to get the people to say. Go ahead, man. That was my rant.
Oh, I love it. I love your passion. So here's what we're gonna do, right? So we got, and I'm not. This is your show,
man.
brother.
This is our channel. This is we the people.
I love it. This is what I wanted to do, right? So we gave a very, very insight of what addiction does with, people in these rural, communities and what we just kind of broke down right there. And I like to kind of keep it like this as a break. And because what we're going to do is go into the recovery aspect, right? So that's another section that is a whole tied in good section, and me and you can really dive into that. And this is where the good's gonna start coming. This is where
no
the
question.
chaos
I need to wind down.
Has a light. It has a light at the end of the tunnel, because we say these things and we're passionate, right? But at the end of the day, we know there is hope at the end of the tunnel. Like if we can push that hope,
because we're examples of it.
Facts. You can look up all my shit. And like I'll stand behind, and I know I made mistakes, but I know at the end of the day, I took lessons from each mistake that I made. I took something out of that, and
this
applied
is that is why, homie, I talk about the things that I do, is because I really want people to understand how evil I was. Like I mean, I came within this close of blowing somebody's head off with a shotgun.
Oh yeah, I bet.
I put the episode on my thing, and not only that. But I went and got the dude. I haven't talked to this dude in 20 some years. And I found him.
You bring him back and
I brought him back to talk about that day. His shit is on YouTube.
Yo, that's why that's so messed up. Those are perfect stories that need to be out there, and they don't like that shit. They want us to be miserable and hate each other. This is that alone right there is amazing. That's the type of change that we need. We need to bring people back together from their faults.
So people can really understand, like, wow, this dude really was deep. And now listen to how he talks. Like, I would never know that he almost blew somebody's head off. Like, who does that? People
change, bro. People change. But so real quick, so I think this has been amazing, by the way. And now I actually got to see where your we won't even call it like a box. Like you said, it's perfect. Like it's just what we see, right? And we have a lot in common. A lot more than I thought in common, right? And what I want to do is when we get off this, or whenever you get a time again, since it's going to be February 16th, the people who are watching, right? So February 15th, I'm going to be talking with doctors and prosecutors about the justice reform on Section 35s and why we need to not have these facilities anymore. They're not doing any good, right? But I want to talk to you like offline or whatever. And what I want from you is to just I have 5 to 7 minutes to speak to them, right? So I really want to like organize it in a way that I can really get out as much information as I can. Mm-hmm. So me and you will sit back and talk a little bit more, one-on-one to help me.
No question.
Yeah. And I'm going to shoot ideas at you, like what I'm going to say. And you tell me what you think. You know what I'm saying? Like I almost want that practice because this shit's going to be touching a lot of people. And this shit's going to really be out there.
When is it? Man, that's right around the corner.
Yeah.
And the thing of it is, Sunday, I'm leaving for Miami because I'm in this play the week after.
Yeah, and that's another thing too, is I want to kind of get some insight on I'm so interested in all that shit that you're doing.
Oh, that's a story in itself, man. Again, it just all falls in line with just doing it and just not caring about what anybody says and not caring about failure and just believing in yourself, and it just this is where it resulted in.
And
I love it. This is going to be my first professional performance on stage in front of hundreds of people in an auditorium in Miami. You know what I mean?
I wish I could be there, bro. That's just
like when I do shit, man. I do shit hard. I don't just stick my toe in shit. I just dive into that motherfucker.
Because you know what? Once you got past the fear of not caring if you fuck up, like doesn't your life come so much better because you're not worried about what other people think? And you're willing to take constructive criticism. You're willing to take whatever you can to build yourself as a better person. And like I said, I think Cynthia did this shit on purpose, bro. I think she put me and you together to talk because she knew as soon as we talked to each other, and she's known I talked like this.
Cynthia knows by now to know that I'm very dangerous, I think. And there's certain individuals that she can attach me to that can take my aggression because I'm coming very hard. And that's the thing is I need individuals that know how to soften people around me, I guess, like get people ready for me because that's how I'm coming. Like these people, I do not work for you, you motherfucker. You work for me, and I'm talking to you, bitch. I'm your boss. And if you don't like it, you can take your ass and get on.
Yeah,
that's how I'm coming.
People need to understand, right? We're at a society where people are soft, bro. Like people are way too soft now, getting offended by every little statement when it's not even directed in a bad way. It's called emotion behind their saying. Why do you think people couldn't understand Eminem? Because his aggression of his music and where he was and what he went through, he put it all out there. People couldn't handle it. It's not they couldn't accept it because a lot of people do. They couldn't handle
what he was saying was true.
And his aggression. And I love that shit. That fires me up. Like the way you get it fires, you saw, right? That fires me up too. And I think it's perfect, man. And I think we got a good thing going. And I'd like to talk to you off screen. Wait. I got some things in the mix. I'd love to
No question, man. No question. We're definitely going to do a lot of things together, man. Again, it's just awareness. Absolutely. So people who are listening, listen.
Yep.
Coming Home Coalition, as I said, I do not take funding from the government. I rely on the community. What I'm doing is just bringing awareness, but I need the community, right? I need the community to support me as well by helping me through this stuff because I created I got a merchandise store. So I make some fly stuff, man. I make some fly stuff so people can go purchase stuff and all of that helps. So
you got a Patreon?
Each other up.
Is that your Patreon? Do you have like a Patreon?
Streamlabs.
All right. I want that link and I want to push that. We're going to get this out there,
Yeah, no question. And I make personalized things, anything, shoes, tote bags, purses, swimsuits.
You want to know why, bro? Look at all the time. People don't understand. Nobody would have been able to, like some of these people wouldn't even do half the time you did, right? And the fact that you come so creative when you're in there, the fact is like, I haven't spent much time in jail, but I've done enough where I understand where things were going. And it was actually the worst time to be in jail was when I was, coronavirus was going on. And I got to see humans at their worst, right? When people are dying, their mothers on the outside are dying, and then they can't get a hold of anybody. And it ends up being crazy. But what I want to say too is that the most creative things I've ever seen, ever, was in jail. Mm-hmm. So these people have the capacity to do some amazing things. They just need the structure in a certain way, and they need to be guided by the right people. And they need to have, I think housing is one of the most important, because once you get a roof under somebody's head and they're ready to change, everything starts going. But when they don't have that help coming out, it's just a revolving door, bro. It's sickening, and I'm sick of seeing it, because there can be something done about it.
Let me not, I don't want the listener to miss this, and I want you to pay attention to this, listener. Listen to what this man just said. This man just said the most creative people he saw was in jail, right? And I want that to sink in for a second, because this is the element of what I'm trying to get people to understand. The reason why you see all of this creation coming out of prison is because we have time. And not only do we have time, but there's limited distractions. We don't have TVs in our face all day. We don't have bills and errands to run and all these distractions. All we have is time. And we sit down, and with that time, we're able to think. And we're able to just learn so much about ourselves because those distractions aren't in place. You know, I started looking at prison as a monastery versus a prison. You know, people pay millions of dollars to escape life, to be able to center on self. And here I was awarded that opportunity through my negative actions and my choices. But I was awarded the responsibilities of life to be lifted off me. So I was able to just focus on self if I chose to, or I could just choose to play dominoes all day. You know what I mean? But I chose to focus on self. And I think that's why I've evolved the way that I have, because of all of that self-learning. There was no distractions in place. It allowed me to just read and focus on myself. I would be in myself for 8-9 hours with nothing, no sound, no music, no nothing, just reading and just focusing, constant questioning myself, you know, processing. And I just learned so, and I did this not for a month or 2 months. This was for
a long time,
a decade, years.
Yeah, bro. People can't even comprehend. I can't even comprehend that. Never mind somebody else. That is, people don't understand. And like, they don't know what the whole is. They don't know what all this other stuff that you have. It's the most heinous shit you could ever see. And to have that person come out and actually have a perspective on self, because look what you just said too. The whole fact is, I read so many books, man. I got to a point where I was pissed off because I didn't have a chance to get another new book, right? And they got me locked in 23 hours out of fucking the day because of the virus. I'm going insane, but I'm also grounding myself and learning stuff I never even knew about myself, right? How much stuff did you realize about yourself, right? When you were in there that you didn't even know you had, like the creativeness, the mindset, everything, the sense of knowledge. You want to like ingest knowledge like it's going out of style, right? I was all about like hearing other people's like perspectives on things, and I was like, dude, like, and even praying at night. Like we always had this the runners, right? That was a key thing. I was boys with the runners, and that's how you have to do it. People don't understand. It's a grind, right? And you know, those people, we'd have these little sessions right near I couldn't get out, right? But they would come over to me or, you know, people in there, and we'd sit and pray and talk about the good things we want to do when we get out. Mm-hmm. See, that's where people got to understand too. We don't just go in there all the time and think that like, oh, this bad shit's going that. There's a lot of good in a sense that comes out. Not the good of how they structure it, but we try to take the best we can in those situations. Like, man, I was in that Bill Ricca, that tier was closed down, literally disgusting. And they threw us in there, you know, no real good water was shutting off, clogged toilets. Like, well, I'm in like this little fucking cell by myself, and people around me are catching COVID and dropping. And then I'm not even being able to talk to the person in front of me because there's nobody there. Mm-hmm. And the mental health are coming around. You guys okay? No. All right. We'll talk to you later.
Yeah, we'll be around next week to check on you again.
Yeah. And I said, bitch, so I don't mean to be like, I go, bitch, if I don't get a new fucking book in the next couple of days, I'm going to put my bed up on this window and you got to bring them in. That's the shit that makes you do. Like, I didn't want to do that. And I don't want to be disrespectful either. Because I know that person's got maybe stuff going on too. We don't know. But you know
that's the importance of a new book though, man.
Yeah. Again, I was this.
Your life is limited to just a book.
Yeah.
You
And you
know,
can like you read it and it's a different level, right? Because when you're reading it, like you said, the no sound, like I mean, sometimes it gets noisy and rowdy in there, but sometimes that peacefulness of really like digesting that book and kind of almost living in it, right? Like your mind takes you away from where you were in that moment, because I didn't like what was around me. I didn't like what was going on. So like I would try to use the stuff that I used when I was being an addict, is shelter and and almost suppress what that was happening, but taking what I was reading as in like, okay, this is where my mind's gonna go and stay, for a while.
yeah,
You know,
yeah.
fuck, it's crazy to go back and think about that shit a little bit.
But
Like,
that's the depravities that we've went through, and but that's what makes us who we are today, and that's what we have to relate to these people is that type of depravity that coming out of prison, it's the prison did not rehabilitate me. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I want to make that known. Like, I don't give no credit to the prison system.
No,
like I
no,
did
no,
this
no.
shit.
Yeah.
The only thing that the prison did was apply enough penal on me. You know what I mean? To enough pain on me to make me realize that I didn't want to feel that pain anymore. You know what I mean? But they did nothing on the back end to rehabilitate that. They applied the pressure and the pain that they did.
That's about it.
You know what I mean? But man,
all right, man. Whew, that was a lot.
No question. And then we'll tomorrow's what's today? Today's Wednesday. Hump day.
Yep.
Thursday. Tomorrow's Thursday.
Well, so we're gonna chat about that thing that I'm doing, right?
Yes.
We'll set that off on another, like when I know it's coming up quick, but I also know you got that stuff going on. So you let me know, because I have an open schedule pretty much.
But see,
you let me know.
Yeah, and I'm gonna go out here and Uber and DoorDash and
shit, so if you're got some time, like random, you fit me in when it's convenient, because just hit me up. Like,
I'll just shoot you a call.
And,
I'll just
we'll
shoot
make
you
it
a
happen.
call. And then we'll just, hey man, let's go over this here real quick. I got 20 minutes or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay, but I'll give you a call later on today
works.
on that. And then
right,
tomorrow we'll connect at the same time.
Yeah. And now for the listeners, whoever's gonna jump in next for tomorrow, is that we're gonna start diving into the actual like progression of recovery and what it takes. And you're gonna have trials, you're gonna have errors, but if you're shooting, see, that time that I just talked to, I wasn't ready to change. Right now this next story and what we're going into is how me and him were able to turn negative into positive.
What made that transition happen? What made us want to change, and what made us see the light, and what got us through it, how we got through it, and the outcome of it. And we'll end on like where we're at right now and what we're doing. You know what I mean?
All the positives.
So excellent, man. Excellent conversation. I'm so glad that I was able to connect with you.
Absolutely.
Stay safe, stay positive. Don't let nobody pull you off your square, partner.
All right, brother. I'll talk to you soon.
Absolutely.
All right, later.